And that's why when we move on to this next chapter of doping, that it's a difficult pill to swallow. I've talked to plenty of athletes on the podcast, and they've doped and they regret the decision and they had various motivations for it. But this is so connected to the physical, mental, emotional, and sexual torture that you were put through, because now it's almost it becomes difficult for you to come forward as a 17, 18-year-old and talk about any of the abuse you suffered, because the abuse is so linked now to your EPO usage, which ends your cycling career, which is all you care about at that point in your life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I could not go to my federation because the doping would have come up. And with doping, I would have been suspended. And at that time, I mean, I have a team. I have a cycling team. I'm employing girls that are making a good salary. So they have a little job. They can live their dream also to be professional cyclists. I have sponsors and obligation to those sponsors. I can't really get another coach because he's going to kill me if I leave, or he's going to commit suicide. And then with another coach, if I don't take the EPO, what are going to be my performances? Maybe they're going to, go down. I have no idea. Of course they would, but I have no idea. I couldn't go to the anti-doping agencies because the only thing they would see is the performance enhancing drug use, and I would get banned. So I was I was trapped. I was in that prison. That was a golden cage prison, and I did not understand how to get out of it.
So take me back. The year is 1998. It's the year before you become the double world champion, road and time trial in 99. You're diagnosed with anemia. Your coach has gone all in, so he needs you to make cash. And your coach has come to this solution that the treatment for your anemia is EPO. Did you have an awareness what EPO was at the time?
I did, because of the Festina affair in 1998. And that's going to sound super cliche, but everybody that knew about the doping, which was not very many people, were like, everybody's doing it and they have no test for it. I knew it was bad. I didn't like it. I felt like I was going into that rabbit hole that was even more and more, narrow. I was getting into trouble that I could not really deal with. I didn't know how to deal with.
What do you mean by trouble?
Tu sais, je veux dire, it's a secret that you can't share with anybody. You're a criminal in the world you live in, because if you take regular society, if you do something illegal, you're a criminal. So if I'm living in the world of sport and I'm taking EPO, which is banned, I'm a criminal. So now I'm the criminal in the place I live in. I'm being abused and I have kind of no way out. So, and all that at 16-year-old. But yeah, I knew it was not. I knew it.
Did the moment the EPO went into your arms, was that, when I look at your story, there's so many crossroads, and when people think about crossroads, they often think there's a conscious choice at these crossroads, but so many of your crossroads, and not to excuse some of these, crossing the line, because some of these things there is no excuse for, but there is circumstances and justifications for it that make one person's decisions different to another. And you definitely were working through an extraordinary set of circumstances that I've never heard a comparable story to this before. That moment when EPO first went into your veins, did that feel like another crossroads? Like, oh, there's a line definitely crossed here?
It did. I felt like I went to the dark side of sport, and that I was getting to a point in sport that I never thought I would be, and that was not interesting to me. Sports for me was always getting the best of my body and, trying to have fun doing it. So it felt very dark and very lonely.
anyone I've talked to on the podcast who's crossed that line, they said there's a couple of elements to it, but one of the most difficult ones to deal with was the extreme paranoia that accompanied it,
Oh my
knowing that
God.
you've crossed the line. And it's like looking around and going like, I'm going to get caught. There's testers coming. I'm going to get caught. And people have recalled stories of like army crawling on the ground on their own apartment because there's a knock on the front door. Did you have comparable experiences?
So much. I was so paranoid, Anthony. I was studying the cars in the streets I was in just to make sure that I knew each car. So if I saw a car that was not there, usually I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to go into my front door because, you know, it could be a tester, but then it gets you also paranoid with your friends and your teammates. You know, I was always, I could never live with, you know, in training camps and stuff, I could never be in the same apartment as my teammates because those stupid products were there. So I was always stuck with my coach in a different apartment with him without any contacts with the girls, except, you know, when we were riding our bikes together. So all these experiences before the ride and after the ride and having fun with the girls, I didn't. But then you think, okay, do they see it? Do they know that, you know, if they come to my house and for dinner, are they going to see something different? Are they going to look around? And then when you travel, I mean, you're in a new place. You have no idea who can show up. You hear a knock on the door at night. I mean, even if it's your friend, you don't want to go answer your door. You know, you're peeking through the blinds to see. It's crazy. It becomes so encompassing. I mean, I was never an addict of recreational drugs, but I read many books of a heroin addict, and one is Keith Richards' biography, and he talks about where he was going on tour and always looking for heroin and how he would get it because he couldn't travel with it, and that's the only thing he was thinking about. How am I going to get the drug? Well, for me, it was not that, but it, you know, you think 24 hours a day, even when you sleep and you hear a noise, you're like, fuck, is it a tester that's coming to my door? That's the only thing you think about. And you miss so much stuff in your life just because you're focused on that. It's not worth it.
But it's crazy because your safe space is cycling. It's the one thing where you fit in, where you know the etiquette, you know what to wear. You're the cool kid in cycling. And now with a simple injection, you've ostracized yourself from the only community that you feel connection to.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're still part of the community, but it's on the surface. You don't really feel like you belong to that community.
And the thoughts and the emotions and the paranoia you're experiencing, they remind me so much. I love the story of rebirths. Like, no one really likes the story of the person who was good, got better, was clean cut all the way up and then won everything and then retired happy. It's not a very interesting story arc. It's normally like good, huge setback, overcame the setback to have victory. And I've had some amazing people on the podcast where they've gone down a road of criminality and they've crossed a line into gangland and they've come back to make either careers as professional athletes or movie stars. But when they recall and tell me about those darkest times when they were involved in heavy criminality, it's all the same emotions and paranoia that you're talking about. It's the noise on the roof at 1 a.m. and they're wondering, is someone coming to kill me? You're wondering, are the testers at the front door? So it's crazy that one small injection actually makes you a criminal. If you enjoyed this little clip from the podcast, you can check out full episodes of the podcast on any podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can click up here for another video that I know you're going to love. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you next day.